fault. Out. Love 15. Love 30. Out. Love 40. Love. 30 love. 40 love.
Alright, this is the game Shooter Space Shot, a title that is incredibly awkward to say, a massive red flag that this comes from Japan, and sounds like an offhanded spoof game from a background gag of The Simpsons. The game loads up in a cutscene of 3 characters who never get any introduction, talking about how they just destroyed a bunch of enemy bases belonging to some empire, but the secret weapon they were looking for is still loose, and so they have to destroy 5 more bases. It's like being thrown into the middle of a sci-fi epic with no recap or primer whatsoever. Or like trying to watch Space Thunder Kids.
子供ってバカにしないでよ。
だってなあ。
いいよ。父さんからの指令教えない。
Our characters are the main hero, Nigo, a girl who the instruction booklet labels a boy, who the wiki calls a girl, and then a boy, and then wincingly an it. And Nigo always already knows everything that's going on, somehow knows absolutely everything about how the enemy works, is also a tech genius that built an AI helper that doesn't do shit, and naturally has to fight the entire enemy armada by themselves. The other characters are Wells, who constantly whines about absolutely everything, is always getting distracted, and openly resents ever having to do his job, and there's Cyber, who... I don't really know why he's here. He kind of just goes along with whatever's happening and has no personality to speak of. Oh, and they also have POSS, a cutesy robot that only ever seems to spout data that Nigo already knows. You do know that POS is an abbreviation for piece of shit, right? You might want to rename that robot you made there. I feel like I owe a massive apology to Team Star Fox. Fox McCloud's teammates at least pretend to help out. They have actual plot significance, or, you know, they're drop-dead sexy. Shooter Space Shot is a 2D shooter where loads of enemy projectiles fill the screen at once. I'd call it a bullet hell shooter, except the game has an actual life bar and infinite continues, whereas fellow bullet hell shooter Star Soldier Vanishing Earth has 1-hit deaths, 3 lives, lose all your power-ups whenever you take a hit, and also eat shit. The game has no item pickups, but you have 4 weapons at all times. You have a basic Vulcan shot, a homing missile that locks onto enemies, a boost that makes you invulnerable while it's active, and a giant piss-off laser beam! The boost and the laser both run off an overdrive meter at the top of the screen, but the overdrive refills so fast as to be barely an inconvenience. Every now and then, you just have to let the Kamehameha recharge for 1 second. That's it. In addition, you have 2 satellite lasers that surround your ship and lock into specific directions, allowing you to shoot at different angles. It's a lot like Scat, the underappreciated NES game, except Scat had you locking or unlocking the satellites with a simple button press. To aim them in Space Shot, you have to stop moving and shooting for a second and then move left or right to get them pointed exactly where you want, and then fire continuously to keep them positioned. Really? There are only about 5 unused buttons on the controller, and you choose to map this to insanely specific movement in a precision-based bullet hell shooter? The satellite's positioning also dictates the homing of your missiles, which makes the missiles borderline useless. That is, until you get to the boss and can cram about 1,000 missiles up its ass at once, because the game only lets you lock onto 16 enemies at a time when there are never anywhere close to 16 enemies on the screen. Honestly, the sheer number of combat options available to you at once makes Space Shot a refreshing and fun shooter, and once you get used to the boost for high mobility, it's a kinetic and fun experience. Surely the game's level designs won't curb the fun factor of the base gameplay, right? Right? The biggest annoyance to the gameplay is that enemies will spawn and float along planes in front of or behind where you're able to move and shoot. With a game that runs entirely on twitch reflexes and observation, it's confusing to see non-stop enemies that haven't spawned yet, and it's frustrating to have enemies just drop into the screen anywhere at a moment's notice. This really comes to a head in level 3, where the enemies all actively try to crash into you for one-hit kills before you even know what's happened. You either have to memorize the stage or abuse the shit out of the invincibility dash to make it through, only to get curb stomped by the level 3 boss. Everything it does kills you in one hit, its body takes up like half the screen, and it opens with a tracking laser that takes up the other half of the screen. If you survive that, he covers the entire screen in bullets, and if you survive that, he just wildly flails all over the entire screen. Even the dash doesn't seem to avoid most of this. If you don't get here with all of your extra lives, you're hosed. But then the level 4 boss just sits there on his ass letting you shoot him, so the difficulty curve is all over the place. Level 4 also happens to be set inside a volcano, with segments where your ship is tinted yellow by the lighting, and it blends into the lava and makes it hard to see what you're doing. In theory, anyway, this legit only took me 2 tries. It feels like the intervening cutscene where Wells freaks out because he ostensibly did something stupid off screen is longer than the actual level.
覚えてないんだからさ、意味ありげなこと言うなよ。
いいじゃん別に。大したことじゃないよ。
通常の94%でした。
わけわかんねえよ。
Oh, sweet cripes, anyone who ever complained about Slippy owes the man an apology. Oh, and even though the entire game you've been continuously firing off missile salvos that take up vastly more mass than your entire ship, it's only after the 4th mission that they need to stop and reload. They inject a little bit of plot before the final battle, where this whole time you've been fighting a weapon that's meant to evolve until it becomes perfect, and Nigo's dad warns her that this thing was invented by the Republic and then given to the Empire so the Republic can rule the world. Apparently this is bad, even though the Empire are the bad guys, implying the Republic are the good guys, and wouldn't the winner of the war control the world anyway? And how is the Republic going to steal back this ultimate weapon after the Empire has perfected it for them? I think the writer was just bashing keys on a keyboard and letting autocorrect write the story. That or the guy writing the subtitles had no idea what the hell was going on. Case in point, this shadowy evil figure who is obviously female and pulling the strings, credited as Unknown Man 3.
計画の変更はないと考えてよろしいのですね。理解しているのかと聞いています。
The last level actually takes place in space for the first time in a game called Space Shot. I like the visual design of us fighting through a space fleet, but the scrolling background is so detailed and busy that it's legitimately hard to tell what's going on. After only a few minutes, you hit the final boss, a robot that you have to fight 3 friggin' times, because through some technobabble that's impossible to follow, POSS is secretly evil and gives the robot the data it needs to become perfect. I told you should have knocked another S off the back of his name. And they don't drop a checkpoint until the boss's 3rd form, probably because this thing's got an obnoxious amount of health and takes forever to kill. But all 3 forms only have a few basic attacks that are piss easy to memorize and dodge. So again, what the hell happened with that 3rd boss to make it so hard? And the fights have been too short for me to care until now, but why don't the bosses have health bars? Slippy gives you the health bars! The boss dies, our heroes go on the run, and yay, they revived that pet robot that was evil and betrayed us. And that's good, I guess? Whatever, the game's over. Shooter Space Shot is a fun enough game, but it's also only about half an hour long, a large proportion of which feels taken up by annoying cutscenes of annoying characters and a half-baked story that makes no sense. Still, if I've only got a little bit of time and want to pop on something for a quick and amusing time killer, I could see myself playing Space Shot again. Which puts it into the same category as Pepsi Man. I think the developers had a much lower opinion of the game than I had, though, because if you look up the memory card data that the game uses for settings, it's labeled shit. You know what? I'm not going to argue.
トスタンドヒットヒットパスパスパスパスパスパスパス
パス
パスパス
パス
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 パスパスパス
Hi everyone, this is Seldum Scene, working together with Alma to cover the A1 games released on PlayStation. I actually have a couple of these in my physical gaming collection, and racing is definitely the A1 game that I've spent the most time with. I remember renting this from Blockbuster back when I was a kid, just because I was really curious about a racing game just called Racing. I mean, this came out after Gran Turismo 2. I mean, it's like the PlayStation Racing library was insanely good and insanely varied, and then this game called Racing showed up on the shelf, and I was like, what the hell is that? and I was curious enough to try it. And I remember when I was a kid, it pissed me off. I really didn't like it. Maybe I can show you why. So it's an incredibly simple, mostly sauceless driving game, budget driving game. Not very many cars to choose from, not very many courses to choose from. Kind of a Ridge Racer-esque in that sense, if you're thinking of like Ridge Racer 1 all the way back on the PlayStation in 94, 95. But this was released in the States in 2000, I think. And so it feels kind of anemic at this point. Some important things to note when you are playing this game. Choosing manual transmission will make you faster. And when you choose between grip and drift, choosing drift will make you faster. So if you're playing the game and you're wondering, why am I not able to catch up to the... You don't necessarily have to do manual transmission, but I strongly recommend choosing drift instead of grip. I think all grip does is just make your car slower so that it drifts less. So don't do it. One of the first things I noticed when I booted this game up is that it asks you to select a transmission, so I didn't really have high hopes for the quality control here. Well, let's go ahead and hit the short course. Let me see if I can explain the handling in this game. Now, you can use the analog stick to steer if you want, but the analog stick is not analog, it just functions digitally in this game. It's like using the D-pad, so I don't think you can turn just like a tiny bit with the analog stick, it won't really work. So I usually just end up using the D-pad. So you can see, pretty standard driving game here. A grid of 4 cars, you included. And do a few laps around the track, try to finish in first place. The handling in this game is very interesting. It feels very stiff. And let me see if I can show off why this game made me mad when I was a kid. So when I think of like an arcade-style driving game, you might not drive... Well, even if you're trying to play this like a driving simulator, it might not work the way you expect. Because you think of, braking and then clipping the apex and then accelerating out. But this game really, really does not like it when you accelerate and turn at the same time. Or when you brake and turn at the same time. This happens. You can actually wheel spin forever. You have to come to a stop and then be careful because when you get going again, the grass might kick you into another wheel spin. So make sure you're very, very gentle and very sparse with the accelerator when you're playing this game. My advice is to only hit the gas when you absolutely need to. Like when you're on a straight and there are no hills and no grass, then you can accelerate all you want. But as soon as you start turning, just let off the gas. Let off, stay off, and then go on. Even on the more gentle turns, you really want to be careful with the gas because you'll just start spinning. So stay off the gas. Even if you think you can make it. This squat little, front wheel drive looking sedan that you're driving will spin like nobody's business. And obviously it's even more pronounced when you unlock the faster cars and the harder difficulties. So let's do a proper race. Let's behave ourselves here. Now, what do I like about this game? I like driving games, and this is a driving game that functions well enough. The music is actually pretty good. I like the just kind of pick up and play nature of it, that you just pick a car, pick a track, and drive. The graphics are... it performs well. Like, I don't think there's really much slowdown to speak of. Probably because there's only 4 cars on the grid. But that's fine. I think maybe if this game had more content, I could forgive the kind of janky feeling handling. But as it is now, with only like the cars, I mean, you unlock different cars technically, but they also kind of function as difficulties. Like there's the novice car, the pro car, and the extreme car. So it's not like you get much of a choice. Like, if you want to progress through the game, you have to use the Pro car, and then you have to use the Extreme car. But yeah, I think if there's more content in this game, I could probably forgive this handling. It could be, you know, a cute enough little, like, budget racing title. But as it is, there are 2 courses. They're both pretty short, and they're not that fun to drive on. But I don't know, I've spent I spent a lot more time on this game than other people might expect. Just because I love PlayStation driving games, I guess. Especially weird ones. I mean, this game was cheap. Nobody was really talking about it. It kind of reminded me of Ridge Racer. And that was really enough for me. Hey, it's a new record. Alright, let's listen to that cool replay music. Listen to that guitar. The replay music is probably my favorite thing about this game. Okay, so when you get a win, you can move on to the other track. I'll show off the, I think they're just called short and long. Yeah, I'll show off the long course, which is longer, but it's not that long. And it does have some nasty hairpins to watch out for. But this track has, you know, some cute, like, city scenery to look at. Some nice 3D buildings, some trees. There's a nice little, spectator gallery over there. And the music's pretty good, too. Alright, here comes a hairpin. I'm just gonna let off the gas, because this car's not very fast. Also, it's totally fine if you drive through the grass and the dirt. It won't really slow you down, as long as you stay off the gas. If you hit the gas while in grass or dirt, that will just, you know, spin the car like crazy. But if you're not hitting the gas, it doesn't really care. Even if you're driving a really fast car and you're going over 100 miles an hour in the grass or in the dirt, if you aren't actively accelerating, then you can turn all you want. It's just weird like that. This part with the overpass always made me think of Ridge Racer. There's a pit lane over here, but it doesn't seem to do anything. Here, let's get a more immersive camera angle here. So, if you're looking for a driving game on PlayStation, I mean, there's so much to choose from, so much good stuff to choose from. I mean, this game is interesting, and I think it's charming in a way. I believe it's running on the KoroQ engine, if you're familiar with those games, but those games have so much more content. I can forgive the janky handling because they're cute and they have a lot to do. But this game is like, no, we're a serious 3D auto racing game. Which means it's kind of like playing Ridge Racer except without the cool drifting. Careful, don't hit the gas when you're turning. Something I do on those long sweeping turns is I turn a little bit, and then I hit the gas. It's like I treat one turn as 2 turns. Like, you hit the gas, and then you turn again, and then you hit the gas, and you turn again. It just feels weird. I've never, I mean, other than KoroQ, obviously, I've never played a driving game that feels anything like this. It's just the weirdest handling model. You can do a little brake slide if you want. I think that's cute. And when you go to the faster cars, that can really be useful because it's a, you know, fast way to slow down. The braking is also weirdly slow in this game. It takes these cars forever to stop. Like, you can slam on the brake and it's just kind of like gradually decelerating. And when you let off the gas, you don't really decelerate at all. It almost feels like you're driving an incredibly heavy car, but, I mean, just looking at this car, I don't think it's very heavy, or at least it would be. Winner! Because I'm using the drift car, you can see that I'm basically just blowing away the competition as soon as the race starts. It just makes you so much faster. Okay, so I've shown you all the tracks this game has to offer. Well, that's technically not true. You can play the long course in mirrored mode after you beat all the difficulties, but it's literally the same course, just flipped on its x-axis. As you can see, because I beat both courses, I unlocked the next difficulty, aka the next car. So now we have the pro car. Looks a little speedier. But again, choose drifts, do the 2 courses again. I'll just do a little bit of driving with the pro car just to show you what it looks like when the game is faster. And then I think we'll call it. Because if you want to beat this game, you do just kind of have to play through these 2 courses over and over and over and over and over. And I'll do that in Ridge Racer, but I don't really want to do that here. See, the brake drifting kind of comes into play. You gotta be careful with it though, because this game really likes wheel spin. Just do a quick and then let off and don't hit the gas. That's the important part. Never ever hit that gas unless you're on a straight. Look at that, we're already in first. I'm not even in manual transmission. Oh yeah, that's kind of fun. Once you know how to do it. You just really have to get a feel for this game's rules and physics. Okay, what I just did there I call turn canceling. I wonder if I can explain that. So, in this game, when you start steering, obviously your car doesn't just snap to full steer immediately. Your car kind of leans into it and gradually reaches its full turning speed. However, if you gradually reach your full turning speed and then quickly switch to the other direction, your horizontal momentum, if you time it right, will be instantly flipped to the other side, so you can skip that initial turning phase and just go straight to full bore, full corner. When I get to the faster cars, I do a lot of turn canceling. Just think of it like a Scandinavian flick, if you know what that is. Like you turn the wrong way and then you turn the right way to kind of throw your weight into the turn. Maybe it was intended to be like a Scandinavian flick situation, but it feels really weird. Like when you do it, it's almost like, whoa, what just happened? It kind of feels like a bug. Let's see if I can show it off again. You'll see I will turn the opposite direction as I approach a corner and then throw myself into it real quick, and the turning animation will essentially be skipped. Also be very careful on these hills. You see when your car kind of starts skipping and hopping, it's very unstable and it wants to wheel spin. Alright, let's go for a turn cancel here. I might have gotten it there. Might not be doing it fast enough. But yeah, Scandinavian flick your way through. There we go, there was a good turn cancel. I usually do it in the tunnel. It's so weird. I can't think of any other driving game where you can just instantly flip all of your horizontal momentum with like a frame cancel. Because see, if I weren't playing this like racing, if I were playing this like pretty much any other driving game on the PlayStation, I'd probably approach this turn, I'd hit this, I'd go through, and then I'd hit the gas. But in this game, you can't really do that. Oh, brother. Also, collision with other cars is kind of funny. You just kind of vibrate through each other. Come here, you. Controller's vibrating, that's nice. Immersive. There's a little turn cancel for you. Ooh, gotta be careful, don't hit that gas. I don't know if these are like cars intended for drift competition. Maybe that's why they're called drifts. Maybe they're specifically set up to slide as much as possible. I don't know why I'd take one of those onto just like a touring car course, though. Let's do a brake drift. Yeah! Maybe I can actually bring this back and get first. Turn cancel. What a weird game. This game was kind of an inside joke between me and my friends. Because like some other of my friends I've also seen it at Blockbuster, and they were like, is there a game just called Racing? Oh, come on! Yeah, we did it! Let's go! And we set a new record. Alright, I think I've shown you enough A1 games racing for one day. I'm going to kick it back to Alma now. Thank you for including me in this video. It's a lot of fun revisiting this weird game. Sorry if I dunked on it too much. It's goofy, but I also think it's still a part of my collection. I don't think I'm ever going to sell it. It's too interesting to sell. Music. Oh shoot. Look at that, right at the end. Racing, yeah.
Hello everyone, Shnick here. Well, the game I decided to pick for this video is bowling. Yeah, just bowling. No fancy names or anything like that. Figured I liked it most since I really liked Wii Sports bowling. In fact, Alma even claims Wii Sports may have taken some ideas from this game, but we'll see if this holds true. So, yeah, bowling. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Once you start a game, you get several customization options, like ball weight or whether or not you want guardrails. You can also choose to play either solo, with friends, or with CPUs. Just pick your options, and here you go. You move and rotate the direction you want the ball to go, select your power level, then time the button press just right and hopefully score a strike. You might also be able to use the D-pad to manipulate the ball as it's moving, but that I'm not too sure about. Yeah, doesn't get any more complex than that. Although I do gotta say, I like the presentation here. It's simple, but it's got a fair amount of personality. Maybe it's something to do with the little music jingles you get, you know, when you get a strike, a spare, or even just starting a frame. To my surprise, there's actually a few more modes you can play besides standard bowling. There's Quest mode, where you get a limited number of balls to knock down specific sets of pins. It's sort of a survival mode. You only lose a ball if you fail to knock down all the pins, and I think you get an extra ball if you manage to knock down a set in one try. Not gonna lie, I kinda suck at this mode, because lots of pin sets like to use splits, which I'm already not good at dealing with when bowling in general, but I can't quite figure out how this game's physics work when dealing with them. Then there's also Special Mode. Basically just regular bowling, but now you get 3 tries per frame to knock down 45 pins, instead of the usual 10. I'm guessing this is where Alma made the Wii Sports comparison. And that's really all there is to say about this game. It's very dirt simple, but it functions as intended. It's got a relatively nice presentation, and a few bonus modes and customization options. It might require some skill to get your aim and the timing right in order to actually bowl good and not just flop the ball into the gutter, but frankly, I wouldn't expect anything less. For a budget price game, this is surprisingly well made, and if you feel like satisfying a bowling itch while playing your PS1, this game should do the trick. It helps that bowling is one of the few sports I happen to enjoy. I promise, it's not because of the GTA 4 memes.